Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Yeah, so can I address the previous conversation that was being had? I've only been
No,
here for like 45
can you
minutes.
just debate this prompt?
Yeah, so what is a woman?
It's your gender identity.
Okay, that means what?
It's a gender identity. It's a deep sense of self with respect to you being a woman or man or whatever gender.
Okay, what's the difference between a man and a woman?
Man is a gender identity that aligns with male typical traits. Woman is a gender identity that aligns with female typical traits.
Okay, what would those traits be for a female?
Sociological, psychological, behaviorals. There's all kinds of traits, right? Nurturing qualities, the more feminine qualities. They're They wear dresses and wear makeup, nails. Those are some typical traits of what women
No,
mean.
no, no, I said a female.
Yeah, those are typical things that females do in society or are.
So you're saying that gender is a societal construct, right?
No, it's not just a social construct. There's more to gender than that. It's also a neurobiological construct. Because in your brain, you have a sense in your brain that you're the gender you are.
Right. Why can't I identify as black?
Because black is not an identity in the same way that gender is.
Why not?
Because black is a social construct. It's not real. There's no such thing as race in reality. It's socially constructed. But with gender, there is a brain part. There are brain parts that give rise to your sense that you're a man or woman. So that's why race and gender, in the way you're trying to analogize them, it's just not analogous.
Right. So can I identify as ethnically Kenyan?
Again, Kenyan is not an identity.
Ethnically Kenyan.
It doesn't matter.
Ethnicity is a
There's
biological
no
term,
ethnicity is not an identity. There's
but it
no
is
No, it's
biologically
not.
determinable.
What do you think I mean when I say identity?
Do you think ethnicity is not biologically determinable?
Genetic, yeah, but when I say identity, what do you think I mean by that?
So you're saying, "Oh, I am this thing, therefore I am this thing."
Nope. See, you're not listening to me. Identity is a deep internal sense of self. You don't have that for race or ethnicity, right? There's no part of my brain that says I'm black or I'm white or I'm Native American. No, there is such a thing for gender. That's why it's not analogous.
Right. So I can't say that I'm American by your logic.
What? You can say you're anything. The point is that nobody's changing their gender, just like in the way you're trying to analogize it. Oh, can I just say I'm black? Ha ha ha, I got you. No, you didn't. Because gender is not something people just change, right? Trans women always were women. They're not changing into women. That's not what trans means. Do you even know what trans means?
Can I identify as a boy or a girl?
No, those are indexical to age. So do you know do you know what it means to be transgender?
They're linguistic categories.
Yeah, do you know what it means to be transgender?
Yes, it means you do not identify with the gender that you are born as.
That you're assigned as. Okay,
Sure.
that's what trans means. Now, why are trans women not women?
Okay, you said that boy is not the same kind of category as man, right?
It's a gender, but it's just indexical to it's just a young it's just a young version of a man. It's just a version of a man. It's just
Yeah, so
you're
by
just
that logic
specific.
then,
You're talking about somebody below the age of 18.
man is the adult version of boy.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
they are the
exactly,
same type of category.
exactly. When we say somebody's a man, we're saying they're above 18 or 18 or older. Now, can you adjust the prompt now? Why are trans women not women?
I'm trying to discuss this with you, but just pointing out the
Can you
prompt is
just
not
stop
helping with the
stop the
discussion.
nonsense and get to the why is the prompt incorrect?
You think semantics are nonsense?
Can you just get to the answer? Why is this wrong? Why are
You think
trans women not
semantics
welcome?
are, you think semantics are nonsense. So you're not actually trying to
No,
have a
can you
debate.
can you just give us the reason as to why this is wrong?
Yeah, I'm trying to establish what the terms mean,
Can you
which
just
is an,
please
which
can
is
you just
important.
please answer the question? Why is this wrong?
There's no question.
Why is this incorrect?
Yeah, we need to establish what terms mean before we can have a discussion. Because if you disagree on what
All right, I'm done with that. Let's get the next victim in here. Hey, how are you?
Yo,
Hey, yeah, do you agree with the prompt?
no,
Great, why not?
because I think that you're just saying that they're women because you say so, and I think you're trying to choose a definition, and things aren't true just because you say they are.
I never said just because I say it, therefore it's true. The reason
No,
why trans women. So let me explain myself then, if that's what you're
sure,
curious about.
yeah, no problem.
Trans women are women because womanhood is an identity. It's a gender identity.
Says
Trans
you
women
though.
have
No,
this identity.
again, back to
This
the
is
root of my
something that
point.
gender theory and gender philosophers agree with.
That's pseudoscience.
It's not
It's not.
pseudoscience.
Yeah, it is.
Gender theory is a real thing.
It's not chemistry. It's not physics. It's pseudo. It's pretend science.
No, gender theory
Yeah.
is a real thing that people have studied for centuries.
You're saying gender is
Endocrinologists,
no. You're saying gender.
neurobiologists,
Hold on. You're
biologists, they all study gender.
You're most biologists would probably say that men are adult males and women are adult females. That's actually what it means. If you were to Google it right now, that's what it would say.
Okay,
Which
so you
blows
think
my mind.
a woman is an adult human female, correct?
I do, yeah.
Great. What's a female?
XX chromosomes.
Oh, what if somebody has XYY? What are they?
They're intersex.
Are they female or male? Are they
They're
woman or
inter.
man?
They're intersex.
Are they woman or man?
They're intersex.
You're not answering my question. What if
I am.
somebody has XYY? Are they woman or man?
They are intersex. That's
That
the
doesn't answer my
biological.
question. Are
That's
they
a
women or
biological.
men? See,
That's a
this is the
biological
problem.
mishap.
Shh,
No,
hold
it's
on.
not the problem.
Hold on. Yes, it
It's
is.
not.
You don't know how to answer this question because we don't define femaleness by somebody's chromosomes alone. Female does not mean XX chromosomes. There's way more to this female sex than chromosomes, right? Fallopian tubes, uterus. We're talking about all kinds of reproductive organs that are all organized around the production of large gametes. That is female. Now, the reason why I brought up the chromosomes is because it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant whether or not somebody has XX or XY. That doesn't tell us their gender. That might give us insight on their sex, but not their gender. You don't know my chromosomes. Yet, do you think I'm a man or a woman?
So, what is a woman? Tell me what a woman is.
It's a gender identity.
What do you mean by that?
It's a deep internal sense of who you are with respect to your gender.
So,
Everybody has this. Everybody has a
90% of
gender
the
identity.
planet, 90% of the planet disagrees with you.
Does it make me wrong?
That alone doesn't make you wrong, but it's
First of all, there's
telling.
no statistics that show that's the case. Number two, that doesn't mean I'm wrong just because people disagree with me.
Right, of course,
Okay,
but
great.
you
So
are wrong.
what's the reasoning? Okay,
But you
so
are wrong.
do you have a sense that you're a man?
Yeah, because I'm adult,
That's a gender
and
that's a gender
I'm
identity.
no. I'm a
But let me
man
ask you
because
this then. Let me ask you this. When you
right.
wake up in the morning, do
Are
you
we
think
debating? Or do you let debaters
I'm
talk, or
I'm trying to pry answers from you because
well,
you're not
no,
willing
no,
to
no, no.
debate.
You're asking questions that make you look right, and you're not letting me respond. But go ahead.
You haven't responded to a single thing.
I
So
haven't responded to a single question you asked. That's
I
not
asked,
true.
okay, great. So answer this then. When you
Okay.
wake up in the morning, do you have to think about it consciously, or do you have this unconscious knowing that you're a man?
Of course, I don't think about it because
That's
I am one.
that's your gender identity. There you go.
No, no.
Yes,
It's
that's
not.
what I'm
It's
talking
not that.
about. That's
It's
what I'm
not.
talking about. That's
It's
the
not
gender
just because
identity you have.
you're saying you want to believe that women
That's your
are
gender identity. Look,
no.
sir, this is the point. The point is that we all, as human beings, have a sense of us being man or woman or whatever gender. I wake up in the morning, I just unconsciously have this sense that I should be wearing manly clothing, that I should be called sir, not ma'am. And when I'm called ma'am, I don't feel good about that. That feels wrong to me. That's all unconscious. That's all gender identity. And so that's the point. That's what we really mean when we say somebody's a man or woman. We're talking about that sense of
There's no
them being man
sense.
or
It's just
woman.
what's physically true. There's no
But
sense.
but you're talking about sex. You're not talking about gender. I agree. There's
They're
two
the same.
sexes. I
There's
agree.
the
There's
same
two
thing.
sexes.
No, you're just saying that's true. That
Okay.
doesn't make it true. Just because you
Okay.
say it is.
So you think all a woman is just their sex. That's it.
I know that's what's right because that's literally physically what's right.
Try again. Do you think all a woman entails is just her sex?
And her age. If it was a minor, I'd call it
Oh
a
my
girl.
God.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. So it's just their sex that
Of
really
course.
matters.
Of course.
So
Why aren't you a tiger?
hold on. So
Yep.
in society, when we say women are more nurturing or they fulfill certain roles within society,
You're
what is that?
speculating now.
What
You're
is that
speculating.
referring to?
Now you're speculating. I'm not
Sir,
getting into that.
sir,
You're speculating.
calm down. Calm down.
Why aren't deer tigers?
What are we talking about when we talk
Wh-
about gender roles? Like
Why
women are,
aren't deer
sir,
tigers?
sir, I'm asking you a simple question. When we say that women,
Why aren't deer tigers?
okay, when we say woman,
Why-
when we say woman typically are nurturing or motherly.
Why-
Look, when we say women are nurturing or women are motherly, what are we really capturing there? We're capturing their gender roles. There's more to woman than just your sex. You can remove my sex, remove my penis, remove my sex organs, replace them with female ones. I'm still a man. Why? Why is my manhood persistent whether or not I have male or female sex organs? It's because my manhood is coming from here, my behaviors, my social aspects. That's where gender is coming from. That's what we really mean when we say man or woman. We're talking about those roles, those norms, those expectations, that identity, those expressions, that identity that's encompassing all those factors. That's gender. Sex is just talking about the female and male organs. Gender is talking about the social aspects of experiencing the world as a man or woman.
Hey, dude.
Hey,
Happy International Women's Day
yeah,
or month. I think is it month? Is it month? I know it started today.
day.
Is it only for one day? I'm saying, is it?
It's
Somebody said it's.
it's just a day. Every day we should be celebrating women and everybody. But
Oh, I agree with you,
today
man.
it's their day. It's their day. Okay. What's your
Yeah, I agree.
what is your
Yeah,
question?
I'm getting to the debate right now. I'm saying I agree with you. We should definitely celebrate women that they have wombs, ovaries, uteruses, and that they can bring in new life into this world, and they can lose their life in the process of doing it. So those are human adult females.
But
You're
not all
talking,
women can do that. Not all women have uteruses. Not all women can give birth.
yeah. You're talking about medical
No,
issues. Okay,
you're the point that you lost on is
I
that
didn't
you're
lose on
saying,
anything yet, dude.
relax. You just said woman means giving birth. But how about all the women who don't give birth? You said woman means uterus. But how about all the women without uteruses? Does that mean they're no longer a woman? No, of course not. That's why we don't reduce women down to their genitals. We don't reduce women down to the fact that they give birth or not. There's more to women than just them being these things that just breed for us and give birth for us. So,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, can I speak? So, right now, I just wanted to decide to be a woman. Is that okay, Michael?
There's no such thing as just merely on a whim deciding to be a woman. That's not remotely analogous to trans women. Trans women always were a woman. They don't just decide to be women one day.
Okay.
Okay.
So no trans women detransition?
Detransitioning is
You're a
talking
lying
about
sack of
societal
shit,
pressure.
Mike. You're a liar. Okay?
You know what
Once
societal
trans,
pressure-
always trans is not a
I know you want to come up
Don't
and be a
mute me.
menace. I understand that. But you asked a great question. How about the detransitioners? Well, the answer is simple. Societal pressures. See, just like why a lot of gay people suppress their sexuality for their entire lives, and then they come out at a certain time, so do people who are pressured into detransitioning from their family members, for example. Imagine going on hormones and you're seeing the bodily changes happen and your family becoming uncomfortable. And then what happens? They pressure you to stop. And you go, okay, detransition. But guess what? Most detransitioners actually end up going back because there is no gimmick here. It's society that doesn't understand trans people. That's the problem.
Yo, I have a question.
Sure.
So, what chromosomes does a man have?
Typically, men have XY, but there are hundreds of chromosomal variations in which somebody can have XYY, XXY, XXX,
Those are medical
XO, X0.
abnormalities.
There are all kinds of variations, and so chromosomes alone do not determine sex. Sex is determined by various different sex features and traits.
So, explain how.
The reproductive system, right? In men, we're looking at penis. We're looking at certain pathways in there that give rise to the production of small gametes. With females, it's the opposite.
So, if I identify as a woman, I'm a woman.
By definition, if your identity is woman, you are a woman.
That's interesting. So, you think if I identify as a woman, I can compete in women's sports?
Well, now you're talking about sports, which is off topic, but yeah, for the most part, I don't see anything wrong with trans women participating in women's sports. It's a fucking game. It's not a big deal.
So, I can participate in women's MMA sports or UFC if I'm a dude by sex?
If you're a dude, no. Again, trans women should be allowed in certain sports, especially if the advantages are the same, right? For the main reason why people are against trans women in certain sports, is because they have an advantage. But certain things can remove that advantage. And then what's your excuse then? There is no excuse. So if the advantages are equalized, I don't see any problem with trans women participating in women's sports or vice versa.
So what removes the advantages?
Hormone therapies, things like that.
Do you think they should be forced to get that if they want to participate?
Nobody is forced to do anything.
No, if
Do you have an actual on topic debate, or do you just
Well, I
I'm just
don't
gonna
think
keep
that
asking
trans
my
women
question?
are women. I don't think they're women
Why not? Why are trans women not women?
because any normal medically, I can't really explain it very well. Any, like me and you, we are medically normal. right?
What? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Like we
Why
both
are
have
trans women
XY
not women?
chromosomes
Why are they not women?
because they have XY chromosomes. They don't have XX.
Okay. What chromosomes do you have?
XY.
How do you know?
Because I'm a man.
How do you know your chromosomes? Have you seen them?
You can go on Google.
You can go on Google. I can Google your chromosomes.
You can Google what a man.
No, you don't know what you're
looks
talking.
like.
Look. You don't know your chromosomes. I don't know my
So
chromosomes.
I could have
I can have
XX
XY.
chromosomes.
I can have XX. I can have XYY. I don't know my chromosomes. Nobody fucking knows their. Most people don't know their chromosomes. That's why we don't care about chromosomes when
Wait, so
talking
you're
about
saying I
gender.
can have XX
You're talking about
chromosomes?
sex, right? You're saying women are females based on their sex. The problem with that is
Yeah.
that we know there's more to women than just their sex. We know that womanhood encompasses more than just their vagina or their chromosomes. For example, gender roles, gender norms, gender expectations, gender expressions, gender identity. There's a neurobiological aspect to gender. Did you know that? You know that the brain actually gives rise to your sense of gender?
Okay, but that doesn't
Right.
take away
How
what
do
I
you explain
said.
that? How do you explain that if all woman is female?
Because you're born whatever sex you are.
I agree. You're born the sex you are, but that doesn't change the fact that gender is different from sex.
Yeah,
There's
gender
more
is a
to me.
society
Like, for
thing.
example, look, there's more to me than just my penis that makes me a man. What makes me a man is also my identity. That comes from my brain. It also is the expressions I exhibit, right? I'm more masculine. I fulfill certain gender roles indexical to manhood. And so those are going to be the qualifiers for manhood, not my sex. My penis, you can remove my penis, you can add another one. It doesn't change the fact that I'm a man. Whether or not I could have a vagina right now, still a man. I might be female, but still a man.
I didn't say just a vagina. I said the chromosomes.
Whatever. You can swap
Because
swap my
hermaphrodites
chromosomes
exist.
for female ones. Swap all my sex organs for female ones.
You can't
Sex,
swap chromosomes.
let's just say logically, you can. Swap
Logically,
my
you can.
entire sex and everything would change into a female except for my brain. My identity would persist, wouldn't it?
So you're bringing up something that's just scientifically impossible.
See, we're dealing in the realms of logic. In the realm
It's
of
not
logic,
logic.
this is a logically possible hypothetical.
That's like saying logically, oh, I can fly. You can't
You
fly.
can logically fly,
can't.
yes. Logically
yeah, so I
speaking,
can-
it's possible logically. Yes.
Oh yeah, explain how it's possibly logical that I can just fly without a plane.
Because we're not talking about science anymore. We're talking about logic purely. And so there's no logical contradiction in you being able to fly. There's a metaphysical problem, yes, but not a logical problem. Now, the whole point I'm trying to raise to you is that trans individuals are analogous to the example I raised. For example, we know that hormones in utero can affect how the body develops and how the brain develops. So the brain can develop more like a man brain, but the body be female. And so that's my point. That's why the gender incongruence exists. Under your view, this is
Yes.
all just nonsense. It doesn't exist.
I
but it does
know
exist.
the definition of gender. I know that it's a society thing, but I'm bringing up sex.
I
by
agree that
sex.
I agree there's female and male, but that's sex, that's not gender. Gender is different.
Yes,
Gender
I know
talks
that
about
gender is
the
different.
gender talks
I
about
know
the
it's different.
the neuroscientific aspect, the psychological aspect of man or woman.
Yes, but by sex, a man cannot turn into a woman or vice versa.
Nobody said a man turns into a woman. See, you're severely ignorant and confused on this topic. Being trans does not
I
mean
don't
you
think I'm
change
ignorant.
from
I
a
just-
man. What do you think it means to be transgender?
To transition into
Nope, you're
a woman
confused. That's not
that
what it
looks
means.
like a
You're
woman. Not
confused.
exactly a woman.
You are again ignorant. You just showed it to us. So in reality, transgender means to not identify with your assigned gender at birth. That's all it means. They're not transitioning from one gender to another. That's not what trans means. You're ignorant if you think that's what it means.
Okay,
Okay.
so I already agreed by gender you can transition, but by sex, would you also agree that you cannot transition?
Sex is irrelevant to gender. I don't know why you keep bringing
It's
up
really
sex.
not, though.
Look, all you're doing this entire debate is just regurgitating.
But
Oh,
I
it's sex.
agreed. I
It's about
agreed
sex.
with.
It's about
I
sex. You
agreed
just
that
you just keep like a
you
broken
can change your
record. You're like a
gender.
broken record. Do you
I'm
have
a
an actual
broken
fucking
record.
argument or just no, transgender are
My
not women?
argument is by sex you cannot change your sex.
That's irrelevant. Nobody said you can change your sex. Trans women are not changing anything about their sex.
Okay.
But they're still women because woman is a gender, not a sex.
I mean, that's really just an opinion.
No, it's a fact. Gender is
It's
a real
not, though.
thing, sir. Do you wake up in the morning and have an internal sense that you're a man or a woman?
A man.
That's your identity as a man. That's your gender identity. It's real. There's an
Well, no, that's just
aspect
my
about
sex
you.
identity.
There's an aspect about all of us.
If I was born a
Everybody.
woman,
There's an
I would.
aspect about everybody that tells you inside that I'm a man, that I'm a woman. This is called gender identity. We all have this. There's a sense in you. Like, for example, if I were to call you a girl, do you feel good with that, or are you uncomfortable?
I mean, I really wouldn't care.
It makes you feel uncomfortable, right? Imagine if society
doesn't
were to
really
call
make me feel
stop,
uncomfortable.
and just listen. If everybody in your family were to call you girl and woman, and you said you better play with Barbies, that would make you feel uncomfortable. Because that's your inner sense of your gender going, that's not who I am. That's what gender identity is. Gender identity is talking about that deep internal sense of womanhood. We all have this in terms of our genders. That's what gender is.
Yeah, I know what gender is. I'm talking about sex. You cannot change your sex.
I don't know
Just like
why
you
you
can't
keep
change
saying
your
you just keep
chromosomes.
saying that over and over again. You just keep saying nobody said you can change
And
your
you
sex.
keep bringing up gender.
First of all, there are some sexual aspects that you can change, like hormones and things like that.
You can change hormones and
Right,
try
right.
and
But
change
this is
it, but you
irrelevant.
can't.
This is
You
irrelevant to
can't
gender.
change your chromosomes.
Okay,
So you
that's
cannot
irrelevant.
be a
That's
woman and
irrelevant. It's
not
irrelevant what
turn
your
into a man or turn
your
into a woman.
chromosomes are irrelevant. Trans women are still women because that's their identity.
No, they're not irrelevant.
All you're doing is saying no, sex. That's all you're not actually debating me properly. You don't have a fucking argument.
No, I
You
agree
don't know what
with
it
your
means to be
point that you can
transgender.
change your
You're just
gender.
coming up to be in bad faith.
Bad faith.
hmm
Bad faith in what?
You just want to come up and get the liberal. Got him. You're not coming here
I don't care
to
about
actually.
you being a
You're not
liberal.
actually coming up here with a good argument.
When did I say anything about a liberal?
So, do you have an actual point here before I kick you?
Yeah, that trans women aren't women
Why not? That's just reiterating your view.
because they were born a man.
That's just question
Simply.
begging. Again, you're question begging your own view when you say, "Well, they're a man. Why are they a man? Because they're a man." That's not an argument. That's not
No,
a
they
valid
were
argument.
born a man.
It's not a valued argument. When you say they're born a man, you're talking about sex. But gender is distinct from sex. Do you agree? Do you understand the difference?
Yeah,
What's the difference?
gender is a society thing. I don't know the full
The
definition.
society thing? I don't know what that even means.
It was made up by
Gender
society.
is not just societal. Gender is also neurobiological, but it's speaking to those characteristics that are psychological, neurobiological, societal with respect to somebody's sex. It's different than just your female or male reproductive organs.
Okay. Well, You know, bisex, you cannot change definition, but I will agree by gender, you can maybe change your gender.
Oh my God, you're so lost and confused. Go back to the drawing board and learn gender before you come up here, guys. I can't debate you if you have a first grade understanding of gender. Maybe you can change it, but you're more than a man. That's it. Guys, that's a first grade understanding of gender. Come back when you have like, a high school understanding. We all need to learn more about gender. That's the ultimate moral of the story here.
You was it?
Hey, yeah, do you disagree with the prompt? Hello?
Women are. Hello, sorry. I do think that trans women are trans women, but to use the term woman, I think is a little loosely thrown around there.
So, what do you mean trans women are trans women? That doesn't make any sense. That's circular. Trans women are
okay,
women because womanhood is an identity. Women and trans women have that identity. Therefore, they're women.
Okay. Did you know what the definition of woman is?
Gender identity that aligns with female typical traits.
That's not the definition of woman.
Well, there is no such thing as the definition of woman, right? Definitions are all going to be arbitrary. The point is that my definition better captures what we mean when we say someone's a woman or man, because we're not talking about someone's sex. I don't know your sex, yet I can guess you're probably a man. Why? Because certain qualities in your expression, your voice, right? That's what we really mean when we say someone's a man or woman. We're talking about those gendered characteristics. Sex is not really relevant.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I'm saying is dictionaries who, are created by people who are obviously more knowledgeable in the field than I am, have decided that the definition of woman is adult human female. That is the world definition.
There's a Stanford definition that says it's an identity. There's all kinds of definitions in dictionaries that say it's an identity.
Okay, and which dictionaries are those?
The Stanford Medicine Dictionary.
Okay, let's look it up. So, say Stanford Medicine Dictionary. Let's see. Definition of all right, so definition of woman is a term used to describe self-identifies. So see, I see what you're saying, but that is a circular definition. You can't say woman's a woman.
You can't just say it's circular without showing me how it's circular.
Yeah, so I'm reading it. I'm reading it, and I said that it says it's a term that is used to describe as someone who is identifying as a woman. That's circular.
How is it circular?
How is a woman a woman? What is a woman?
It's a gender identity.
Okay, but I'm reading this definition here. It's saying a woman's a woman. So what is a woman?
Look, a definition is only circular if you don't expound on what you mean, right? What that definition says, someone who self-identifies as woman, right? But that womanhood can then be unpacked to mean a gender identity in itself. And so, yeah, there's no circularity in that definition. Now, furthermore, just because that definition is stated in a authority's website doesn't mean it's necessarily the one we should be using. The same with your definition as adult human female. That doesn't mean jack shit. Just because somebody wrote it down in a dictionary doesn't mean we have to use that definition. That's not how definitions
work. Well, then
work.
what's the point of having dictionaries if we're not going to use the terms agreed upon by...
Suggestions. They are mere suggestions as to how we could use the word. The problem, though, with adult human female is that it doesn't capture the nuances behind gender like my definition does. My definition actually accounts for trans folks. It actually accounts for gender dysphoria. It understands what these things mean. It accounts for trans phantom sensations. It accounts for the psychology behind gender. It accounts for the neurobiology behind gender. It accounts for all these things. Your definition can't. It's a
I understand, and I'm
outdated definition.
That's totally fine, and I'm not going to discredit trans folk, women and men. I'm not going to discredit their experiences, but to put them in that category of a woman is, I think, is hurtful to biological women, as trans women
There's
cannot
no.
experience things
How
that
is it
real that
hurtful? How is it
because
hurtful?
it's hurtful to biological women, because
How?
trans women are not going to fully experience biological womanhood,
How is it
and
hurtful?
it's hurtful.
Can you please explain exactly how it's hurtful?
Yeah, I will easily explain how it's hurtful. Trans women haven't had to have the experience of many years of discrimination in the workplace as biological women have. They don't have to deal with the
They do experience discrimination. Are you fucking kidding me? Trans
I'm
people do
not
experience discrimination.
yeah, but it's not as been experienced as long as discrimination women have for the past hundreds of
Okay.
years.
So all the biological women who never experienced discrimination, they're men?
What?
By your definition, all the biological women who don't experience discrimination are men.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're trying to get at there. Um, I'm really not sure what you're getting at there, but okay. And I just don't think
That's what you said. You said
that's
you can
not
only
what I
be
said
women
at
if
all.
it's hurtful because if those women don't
No,
experience
I
discrimination,
didn't
they're
say
not
that's
really
not what I said
women.
at all. That's not what I said at all. I said they're not going to fully experience biological womanhood. I think that it's hurtful to
Okay,
biological women.
so if biological women do not experience the fullness of discrimination, are they still women?
Of course, it's all women.
Great. So then trans women who also don't experience the full discrimination means they can also be women.
They can be a trans woman, not a woman.
Oh my gosh. There's no difference. Trans women are women. They're a
I'm going to
type of
disagree with
woman.
you. There's no such thing as a type of
Why you
woman. It's a
disagree?
woman
By
or a
the way, you
male.
keep pivoting from how it's hurtful to cis women. Where's the hurting coming from?
The hurting, okay. And I haven't experienced childbirth. Yeah, I'm going to bring that one up because that is a part of womanhood is childbirth. And
So all the women who don't experience childbirth are hurting other women?
no, they're not hurting it. They don't have to if they want to. But that is, I would say a lot of women
No,
would
this
agree
is
that the
absurd. They're
experience of
not
giving birth to
hurting
a child
anybody. There
is a
isn't
part of
any
womanhood.
hurt. The hurt is perceived by you because you think they're weird and ooh. And in reality, they're not. There's nothing hurtful about trans women existing. It's just that you don't understand them. You don't
Okay,
like
well then,
them.
what is womanhood?
What?
What do you classify as womanhood?
Womanhood is a gender identity that encompasses psychological features, behavioral features, social features, neurobiological
Like what?
features.
Specifics? Like what?
Nurturing, motherly, these are some typicalities. Nails, makeup, long hair, these are some typicalities that are of the female archetype.
So getting pretty and nails. That sounds pretty sexist to me, if I would say.
It's not sexist because we're recognizing that not all women do that. We're
Okay, but
building an archetype.
to use that as your first term of womanhood, I think is pretty objectifying. That
It's
it's
not
about
objectifying.
nails.
We're not saying
It
that all
is. It
women.
is.
How is it?
If that's what your first go to is makeup and nails, I think that's pretty sexist and that's
How is
pretty
it? How is it
objectifying.
sexist? How is it sexist?
Because you're insinuating that all women do is paint their nails and
Nope.
put on
No, I'm
makeup.
not. I never said all
Then
women do that.
why couldn't you pick
Can
a
you
more?
quiet? Not all women do this. See, this is why I'm talking about an archetype, not a stereotype. You know what an archetype is? We're talking about a symbolic representation of what womanhood entails. Not all women wear makeup, but what we're saying is that it's a typicality. It's what's typical. We're building an archetype of a superhero, for example. You might say that superhero is caring, it's helpful, they're strong, right? We're not saying all superheroes do this, but it's a typicality, it's an archetype. The same with women and men. These are cluster concepts that entail many different cluster traits. And so when you say, oh, well, you're saying all women do that. No, I'm not. By definition, I'm not. So it's not sexist. It's not a stereotype. Try again. You're muted. Nobody can't. Oh, he left. All right, let's get the next victim in here.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, so I've been looking at a bunch of arguments you're making, and one of the big things you said is the brain thing. So what studies have shown is that there's structural similarities between the brains of quote unquote trans women and cis women. However, those same studies also say that's true for gay men. So are gay men women?
No, so studies have accounted for sexuality and shown still that there are correlations between the brain and gender. So, yeah, studies have accounted for that.
No, those studies have shown the same thing for gay men.
All right, so I'll give you an example here where this study here, it's called A Sex Difference in the Brain in Relation to Transsexuality. It accounted for gay men in the study. And they still found, even accounting for the gay men and the
Wait,
brain
can you tell me
structure,
the title
they
again?
yeah, sure. A sex difference in the human brain and its relation to transsexuality. That's just one of the examples of a study that accounted for gay men and sexuality.
What do you
in
mean
general.
accounted for gay men? So did they explicitly say that gay men don't show this congruence?
They found that even though they considered gay men in there, they still found a correlation between trans women and cis women.
Yeah, that's not what I'm contradicting. I'm not denying that, yeah, there's a congruence between trans women and cis women. I'm saying if you're using that as to define women, that applies to gay men as well.
We're not using it to define women. Again,
Okay.
well, all the neurobiology shows us is that it gives that the brain gives rise to our gender identities. It doesn't say that, oh, because you have this brain, you're a woman. It means that your brain configuration gives rise to your particular gender identity.
Yes. Okay, so that
science,
configuration also applies to gay men.
No, it doesn't.
It does. Studies
No.
have shown the same thing.
Again,
So the
the study I
INH3.
just presented to you looked at gay men and still found, accounting for their brain, they still found a correlation between trans women and cis women's brains.
That's not contradicting what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that the same congruence exists between gay men's brains and cis women's brains.
No, gay men.
Yes. Do you want me to give you the study?
Let me explain it to you because you keep not listening to me. That study I just showed you looked at the sexuality of the subjects and still found that the brain is responsible for gender identity.
I'm not saying they're all
And-
gay. I'm
and
not
that
saying I'm
it's
not
this-
saying the trans women in the study were gay. That's not the claim.
Hold on. The size of the BSTC, for example, in the study was not influenced by sex hormones in adulthood and was independent of sexual orientation. So independent of sexual orientation, they still found the correlations between...
Again, that's not
cis women and trans
contradicting what I
women.
said.
It
I
is
didn't
because
say all the
it
trans
is
women are gay.
Because you're saying that, oh, well, the gay men brain have the same as trans women. No, they don't. We're finding that
They have the same
independent of
congruence.
sexual orientation.
Okay,
their
so
brains
do you
are
want me to give you
still
the study?
aligned to
Do you
their
want me
gender
to
identity.
do you want me to give you the study? Gay men have a similar INH3 similar to heterosexual cis women. Gay men also have the similar
Yeah.
BNST. All of these studies that you mentioned that study
Yes,
this with trans
we-
women, these apply
we-
to gay men as well.
We understand.
So-
Yes, we already know that gay men, for example, have similar
So
sizes. and
if
structures.
we're using that to define,
Stop. We already know that gay men have similar sizes and structures to cis women. However, that doesn't tell us all about their gender identity. Just because they have a couple structures here and there, this is a highly complicated thing, the brain. And so, again, we're looking at overall brain structures. We're not looking at the INH3 or just.
so which one is
particular
specific to trans women that gay men don't have? Which part of the brain
What?
exactly?
No, there is no brain part that they're missing or they're including.
No, you said the whole.
point-
You said I'm only focusing on one part of it and not the holistic picture. So
Yeah,
which
we
brain
looked-
similarity
we
do
looked at-
trans women exhibit and not gay men?
Yeah, with fMRI, we find that the whole structure of the brain, the gray matter, the white matter, the cortical thickness layers, the INH3, all these other parts of the brain, the hypothalamus, for example, those all together present us a phenotype that is unique in trans individuals that is not shared with gay men or gay women.
Which ones are not in gay men? Out of all of those, you said
What do you mean which
hypothalamus, gray
ones? What
matter.
do you mean which
You
ones?
mentioned multiple parts, right? So the studies that I've seen, gay men have the same structures. So everything you mentioned, hypothalamus, gray matter,
No,
those are also
don't.
observed in gay men.
Yeah, there's no gay men aren't missing brain structures that trans people have. We all have very similar brain structures. Me versus cis women. The point
That's
is that there are
irrelevant. Focus on the argument.
hold on. The point is that there are very minute differences that we can study with fMRI. So here's a study called Neurobiological Characteristics Associated with Gender Identity. This study found that there is a unique brain phenotype that transgender individuals exhibited.
What's the study again?
Neurobiological Characteristics Associated with Gender Identity, findings from the neuroimaging studies in the Amsterdam cohort of children and adolescents. Right?
So does the study conclusively say that trans women have a unique similarity to cis women's brain that gay men don't have?
It shows us that trans women have unique brain phenotypes that are not gay, that gay men don't have. It's unique to trans individuals.
Nowhere in the study does it mention that gay men don't have that same similarity.
What?
Yeah, I went through the study. Nowhere does it say
Oh my
that.
God.
Nowhere does it say that. So I think that's just number one. But
The primary goal of our neuroimaging studies in children and adolescents experiencing gender incongruence was to determine whether they may have undergone an altered sexual differentiation of the brain. In addition, we want to determine whether sex differences in the brain are established before puberty. The study.
I'm literally going through the study, and the study is acknowledging what I'm saying. The study literally acknowledges.
The study
You're
found.
lying. You're lying through your teeth. The study acknowledges what I.
The study found that trans individuals exhibited a unique brain phenotype.
It's not the contention. That's not the contention. You're not focusing on the
period. And again,
you're not.
Again, gay men have been accounted for in multiple studies. We've accounted for
all of the studies.
We still find. No, you can't say all the studies show you're right.
This study you mentioned shows. Wait, this study you mentioned. It literally does not say that there's a conclusive evidence that only trans women have this. It says there's mixed research.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Slow?
Just because
the orientation studies have also.
Just because the study doesn't explicitly say this is conclusive evidence, that doesn't mean it's not evidence. This is still,
but it does say
this is still a peer-reviewed scientific piece of data that shows trans women have a particular brain phenotype. Again, gay men don't have that phenotype. It's specific to trans individuals.
Can I quote this from the study you just mentioned?
Just because the study doesn't say that doesn't mean it's not data or evidence.
The study
again, and the other study I showed you before did account for gay men. Again, independent of sexual orientation, they still found brain.
Independent of sexual orientation doesn't prove the point. But
independent of brain. No, the whole point is that independent of sexual orientation, they still found correlations between the brain and cis women and trans women. That's the.
Why are you not letting me talk? Are you scared? I'm quoting this from your study. I'm quoting this. Let me quote this from the study. Sexual orientation studies have also shown cross-sex patterns in brain structures. The available research cannot clearly separate effects of gender identity from sexual orientation. From the review. Are you done lying?
What review?
The actual review of the study.
Which study?
The study, it's the neurobiological characteristics of gender identity.
That's the abstract. That's why they studied that. You read the abstract, you idiot. You read the fucking abstract.
The title of the study.
What? What are you talking about?
This is the title you gave me.
You read the abstract. Of course, the abstracts are going to say, well, the data isn't this or that or that. But that's why they
The
study
abstract doesn't just
brains.
go against the result. Are you stupid?
Yes, it does. It doesn't go against the result. The point is that it explains the problem, and then it
Yeah,
solves
the
it by
study
doing
itself
it.
has stated the study.
Stop, and listen. You're so fucking disingenuous.
You're just
Stop,
lying to.
stop saying I'm lying and listen to me.
You were. You were.
Oh my god, you're so fucking angry. The overwhelming data shows what I'm telling you. This is why it's the consensus amongst endocrinologists and neuroscientists that, yeah, the brain has to do with our gender identities. Now, you read the abstract. That doesn't do anything for us. You haven't presented a single study that shows us at all the opposite of what I'm telling you. So, you're just being bad faith here. The data overwhelmingly supports gender identity comes from the brain, and period.
Okay. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. Do you disagree with the prompt?
I would disagree.
Okay. Why are trans women not women?
Okay. Well, the reason I disagree is because if trans women are women, I wouldn't have needed to transition in the first place.
What? All right. So you're saying that until you transition, then that makes this the case. Is that your argument?
My argument is that if I was an actual woman, there wouldn't have needed for me to transition at all. I
Oh,
was
okay.
born male.
Oh, okay. So you
Exactly.
think woman is sex? No, this is incorrect. Womanhood does not mean sex. It doesn't mean female, right? When we say somebody transitions, we're not saying they transition from male to female. No. What we're saying is that their identity was always there. Trans women always were women. They never transitioned to woman. They always were women. It's just that gender affirming care, like hormones, things like that, that can affirm their gender. It can help them match their expression with their identity. That's why people go through those transitional things. But womanhood does not mean sex. So that's why you're confused.
It does. Womanhood is based on that biological reality and such. So I'm flattered, for instance, that you could say all that, but no matter what you say or no matter how I try to present myself, biologically speaking, I am male, and as such,
Nobody is
that's on my
denying that
birth.
you're male. Nobody
Okay,
denies
you
you're
keep
male.
I'm not interrupting you, so please don't interrupt me. So I'd hopefully like to give this perspective to you and hopefully others listening. So no matter how much I try to look like an adult human female, no matter the legal route I had to take in order to,
All right. Nobody cares about adult human females. That's irrelevant. That you're talking about sex. So stop saying sex. Woman is not a sex. Woman is not referring to a sex. Woman is referring to a gender identity. So that's why you're confused here.
No, it's not.
Okay,
and I
well, okay.
wish it
Then
was that
then
simple.
what is your reasoning as to why woman is adult human female?
An adult human female is born as such. One
No,
with a
you're not
uterus,
answering my question.
ovaries,
Why is woman adult human female? Why should we use that definition?
because it's based on the biological reality.
No, why should we
Unfortunately,
follow the sex though? Why should we follow a sex-based definition?
because that's just how it works. Unfortunately,
That's not a good argument. That's just how it works. I can just say that to you. That's just how it works. Trans woman or woman. That's just how it fucking worked. That's a stupid, invalid argument.
I
The
don't think
reality
we
of
need to.
this, the reality of this is that you don't have a reason as to why we should use your definition. You just have the inkling that I'm a stupid woke liberal and that all these people are destroying women. And that's what you came up to do. You came up in bad faith yet again to say, oh, it's adult human female. That's it. Like a dogmatic person. The
Yeah, you don't
reality
need to
is there's
study.
more to womanhood than just somebody's sex. Women are not reduced down to their fucking sex organs. There's more to women than that. Do you agree?
Exactly. There's more to women than just, just sex. However,
Oh,
in that,
okay. Okay, great. So you agree that woman is not just adult human female, it's talking about other features, the neurobiological features, psychological features, social features. That has to do with your womanhood.
once more, social features, all those cultural aspects of what woman is going to be defined by the respective societies.
I
However,
agree. I agree.
those definitions of what entails a woman is based on that biological reality
No,
of
because look, if you were to remove my sex organs, remove my penis, swap them out with female organs, I would still be a man. That wouldn't change. Nothing about my manhood would change. Even though I had female organs, I would still want to fulfill manly roles. I would still want to fulfill manly gender expectations, gender norms. I'd still be masculine presenting. I would still exhibit the manhood I do. And so that's why sex is irrelevant to your gender.
you essentially defeated your argument because that's essentially what I am as well. Like no matter how much I chop off whatever it is, which I haven't, that still makes me male at the end of the day.
You keep talking about, you keep bringing up this rhetoric. Oh, I didn't chop up my penis. This doesn't do anything for you. It sounds like you've been listening to lots of anti-trans people and you've been convinced by them. The reality is, regardless of what's down there, what's up here stays the same. It's persistent, right? Do you agree that your brain stayed the same throughout your life? The way you sense your gender has been the same. Do you agree?
I can act feminine. There could be qualities in my
I'm not
brain
talking
that
about
might
acting. I'm not talking about acting
be
feminine.
that, but it's still
Marie?
male at the end of the day.
Marie,
Still
do you
male.
agree? Do you agree that? Okay, are you a woman?
No,
What are you?
trans woman, born a dude,
Okay,
always will be.
you're a trans woman. Ever since you were a child, did you have the sense that you wanted that you were a woman, that you were a girl?
I thought I was different from other dudes. I was a lot more feminine, but
Can you
that's
please
still.
answer the question? Ever
I
since
did.
you were a
I'm
girl,
answering it.
ever
You keep
since you were
interrupting.
younger, if you don't have to answer the question if you don't want to. It's a bit
Again,
personal.
I'm trying to answer. You always keep interrupting.
Okay,
Again,
let me try it
I
again.
felt different from other boys. I knew that there was something different about me, something wrong with my brain,
There's
the way I
nothing wrong with
acted.
you. There's nothing wrong with you.
Again, Jesus Christ.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, it's
There's
a little
nothing wrong
abnormal.
with you.
It's a little abnormal. We can all agree with that.
Because it's abnormal doesn't make it wrong.
With that said, no matter what is in my brain, no matter how the legal hoops in order to look like a female, or at least have a female name,
You keep
that
regurgitating the
still
same
does
thing
not
over and over
refer.
again.
That
Please,
still does not.
you keep going down this line of rhetoric. Oh, I didn't transition. Relax and listen. Obviously, ever since you were a child, you understood your gender. You understood your sense of you being a girl. You didn't want to be called boy names. That's why your name is Marie, right? That's what I mean by gender identity. I want to be called Mike. I don't want to be called Michelle. That's my gender identity. I squirm and I feel uncomfortable if I'm called Michelle or girl or woman. I wake up in the morning and I just immediately go for manly clothing. I don't think about wearing dresses or makeup. That's my identity as a man. That's why your identity is woman. It seems like.
Does
That's
a
why
woman
you
have to
are
wear
a woman.
dresses?
That's why you are a woman. And I'm man.
It's weird that you mention that, for instance, like you're referring to like dresses and makeup and things that are stereotypically like associated with women, but that again, dresses, makeup, that's superficial of what a
I
woman
never said
entails.
dresses make you woman. I said that's a typicality within the archetype of woman that society has constructed. Women and men are social constructs. They're not real things. There aren't really women or men. Those are just made up constructs that society has said, oh, if you do these things, if you have this particular identity aligned with this construct, then you're a woman. That's all it means.
No, not only that, but when you mentioned, for instance, you brought up infertility issues. When you said, "Oh well, not all women can give birth," so does that make them less of a woman? To what I would say to that is, those are infertility issues that only women deal with. That's something I
I
will never have to deal with.
but that doesn't mean that trans women are not women because they don't have every experience that a cis woman has. We don't define women just by their experiences because there are plenty of cis women who don't have that experience. That doesn't make them less of a woman.
They're still women, no matter what infertility issues they go through. Things that I will
Exactly,
never go through.
exactly.
It's things I will never go through as a biological man. I'm never gonna have to worry about whether I
There's
can't
no
get
such thing
pregnant or
as a
not
biological
because I don't
man or
have
a
a uterus.
biological girl. You're still confused about gender. You don't know what gender is. You still are. You should learn more about gender theories.
Apparently, neither do you, but that's the
Okay, what's
unfortunate
gender?
thing.
Let's test your understanding. What's gender?
Gender is woman, female. There's also male.
You don't know
You
what
don't need a
gender is.
dictionary
You're
or a degree.
confused. You're confused. And that's okay. I don't want to shame you in not understanding gender. I don't want to shame anybody, but at the same time, people need to learn about gender, right? That's why everybody's confused here. If a random person inferentially gendered you as a woman instead of a man, would that make you? Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to reach for by saying, hey, there's something unconscious happening in my brain that says I'm a man. I don't want to be called girl. If somebody referred to me as a girl, I would be uncomfortable. I would not like that. And if I was given dresses and makeup, and if I was given a motherly role expectation, I would not feel good about that. That's what gender identity is. That's what we mean by that. That's that unconscious sense in your brain that says, I'm a man. It's that simple. It's that simple, but people don't want to catch on to this, you know? You know? Someone said, let me in, I will destroy you. All right, come on up.
Yo, hello?
Hey, yeah, can't wait to get destroyed. What do you got?
Yeah, bro. Hold on. Alexa, stop. Just want to say, Happy International Women's Day, guys. Yeah. Shout out Alex Scott on that. It's basically, yeah. When you go on the hub, why is there a section for tranny?
What? This is your response?
Yep. Why is it different to, like...
All right, yeah, have a good day. You really got me there. All right, next victim. Hey, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Great.
So, can you explain to me what a woman is in your identity, like for a trans woman? I want to hear what your explanation is for what makes you a woman.
Womanhood is a gender identity that allows its female typical.
Womanhood is gender identity for 100% gender identity. Like, do you have a uterus? Do you have fallopian tubes? Do you have ovaries? Are you able to have a period? Are you able to create a child within your body? That's what makes a woman a woman. 100% all the way. That's what makes a woman a woman. Just because you are saying that you're a woman does not make you a woman. Just like I don't think a transgender is okay to go into a woman's bathroom.
Okay. Let me address this one by one. First, you said if you don't have a uterus and give birth, you're not a woman.
You're not a woman.
Okay, but
You're not a woman.
how about all the women who don't have uteruses?
That's because they had them removed because of, I don't know, say emergency hysterectomy.
Hold on. What if they were born without a uterus? That happens. What if they're born without the ability to give birth? What happens then? Are they men? No, they're still women. That's why we don't reduce women down to their sex organs. There's clearly more to womanhood than just your sex organs. That's why we say, hey, that's sex. That's a different category. Now we're talking about gender. Gender is a different category of thing. It's talking about the brain, the psychology, the sociology in which those sexes are living within. That's what gender is. So, do you understand the difference? Do you understand why trans women are women? You're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
That's what you think, is that you are a woman, but you don't carry all the stuff that a woman carries inside of her body.
Okay, so to
The-
be
the-
clear,
the-
I'm not a woman. I'm a man. To be clear.
Exactly, but you're like, let's debate. Trans women are not women.
Okay.
That's
Why-
all there is to it.
Why not?
You can dress like a woman, you can look like a woman, you can walk like a woman, you can talk like a woman, but that don't make you a woman. Biologically, you are born a man, correct? Yes.
So,
you
no,
do
you're
not
talking
carry
about
a baby
male.
with
You're
inside your
talking-
body. Am I correct? Yes. I
No,
am
you're not correct. Please, you have to let me speak. Okay? You're referring to sex, not gender. Let me try this again. Because you weren't listening last time. Sex is talking about the sex organs. Gender is talking about the neurobiological, sociological, psychological characteristics associated with those sexes. So we're talking about gender roles, gender expectations, gender expressions, the way you express your masculinity or femininity. That's gender. Do you understand the difference now, ma'am? Please unmute when you're ready.
So you just go and keep muting people? That's what you like to do?
Were you listening though?
No, because you like to brainwash people. So I could sit here and look at my daughter and be like, yeah, you were born a female, but I look at you as a dude. No.
Ma'am, nobody is saying that your daughter is not a female. Again,
No,
that's
but you're saying trans women are women. You guys are not women.
when we say women,
Just because you feel like
we're
you are does
talking
not
about
make you a
when
woman.
we say women, we're talking about a gender, not a sex. Do you know the difference?
So ask him if he thinks it's okay for the trans to go into the women's.
And so do you think it's okay for the trans woman to go into the women's bathroom where little girls are at?
I don't see a problem with somebody taking a piss in the restroom. No.
No, that's not answering my question. Okay. So a man is stronger than a woman. A trans man can go into a woman's restroom, which has happened, and has assaulted women in a woman's restroom. That's okay? That's okay for a man who's a trans to go into a woman's restroom. Just like them being in sports, in a woman's sport, women's boxing. You say it's okay for that man to go and do women's boxing when they're still stronger than a woman.
Let me address this.
No, it's not okay.
Okay. So, to your concern about the bathroom, there are cis women who have gone to the bathroom and done also bad things sometimes. It happens, unfortunately. But does that mean we should stop cis women from using the women's restroom? No. Just because there are some bad apples in a particular demographic doesn't mean that we should bar them from participating in taking a piss. Now, I understand you're uncomfortable with them in the bathroom, but that doesn't make it wrong for them to be in the bathroom. Okay? Secondly, gender and sex are two different things. If you don't understand the difference, I will not talk to you anymore. I will stop and make you learn the difference and then come back to me. So go ahead. Do you know the difference? Okay. I thought so. I'm my patience is like really, really getting thin here. All right, let's get the next victim in here.
Ow.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Hello?
They're not women. They just think they're women. But they're fake.
Okay.
And you guys think
The
they're women?
rhetoric aside, let's get back to the actual logic here. Why are they logically not women?
Because they were born male.
Why does that invalidate them from being women?
Well, for me as out there, I'm a woman. A real woman. Yeah, I have everything what a woman has. You know? Oh, and
What
get
does a
this,
woman have?
we can give birth. Guys can't.
Okay, so all the women who are infertile and cannot give birth are not real women?
That's because they have medical problems. That still makes you a woman.
Okay, so you don't have to give birth to be a woman, correct?
Yeah, but the thing
Okay,
is,
okay. So,
they
then
are
you're not
men,
defined by your
they
ability
have
to.
dicks. They have dicks, not pussies.
Okay, so if I were to remove my penis, would that render me a female or a man, a woman? Oh, she's gone, thankfully. This is like crazy. This is America. This is America, folks. I'm a real woman. A real woman. Yeah, let Fred in. I got something sensible. No, you don't.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Okay, so can you tell me what a cis woman is?
A woman whose identity is the same that which they were assigned at birth.
What would that be? What would they have to be assigned at birth?
The gender that they are.
Which is?
The gender they identify as.
No, the gender that they identify as is woman. What sex would they have to be cis for them to be classified as cis, to be a cis woman?
Sex is irrelevant. You could be male or female and be cis.
So I could be wait, hold on. So I could be a male cis woman?
In some societies.
I love that face.
Yes,
that face. I love that face. Wait, yeah, so you're saying yes, I could be.
You think you have a gotcha here, but you don't. There are some societies in which you might be male, but designated or deemed. Hold on. Let me answer. It's a good question. There are some societies in which you may be male, but deemed woman by society. And that person might grow up and they might identify as woman. So yes, it's possible logically for somebody to be male, cis woman. Do you have a point here?
Just so everyone is clear, that cis women can be male according to the host. Now, you said society, society deems them women. Is society what we use to determine what women and men are?
Society, that's a very loaded question. The answer is
Could you? It's more of
Society
a yes or
constructs.
no
Hold
question.
on, this is a good question. Society constructs what we think women
I
and men
know.
are, and all the genders are. But society is not
That's not
dictate.
what I'm
Hold on,
asking.
society does not dictate how you
Will you answer
identify.
the question I'm asking you?
See, you want a simple answer, black and white, one or two, yes or no. But it's complicated.
Just
Listen,
answer the question I'm
listen.
asking, and then you can go off into your fucking spiel. Just answer the question I'm asking, please. Does society determine whether someone has the reproductive anatomy of a male or a female?
That's a different question. No, that's a no.
Okay, thank you. It was
That
more
was a
detailed
different
because
question.
I didn't
You
want you to
changed the
go off on
question.
your tangent again. I didn't want you to go off on your tangent again. That's why I had to ask it differently. Okay, so society doesn't determine that, right?
Society does not determine sex, no. What is your point here, sir?
Okay. Now, what is a man? What is a
What?
woman? Define
What?
and what can you define without mentioning sex?
You're breaking out, sir. You must be on that turf Wi-Fi.
I'm on that same life. I thought I'm walking my dog.
Okay.
So what I'm
So a
saying,
man.
like, hold on. So
All right.
let's take it here. You were saying that you.
Too slow. I'm breaking up. Gotta go. Sorry. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I don't agree with the prompt.
Okay. Why not?
Because I believe women are adult human females, and I don't think males can change to being females.
Yeah. So nobody said that males can change and turn into females. That's not the claim here.
Okay.
Woman is referring to a gender identity, which is not a sex. They're distinct.
Well, the definition of a woman is an adult human female. So how can that include?
But whose definition is that, and why should we follow that?
Whose definition is that? That's just. I'm pretty sure that's just the general definition. I don't know whose exactly the definition it is, but I'm pretty sure that's the definition like used everywhere.
But why should we use that definition?
Why? Well, why shouldn't we?
Because it doesn't capture the reality of gender, right? See, reducing women down to just a sex is dismissing the fact that people experience gender dysphoria, the fact that people are trans, the fact that there's a psychological aspect of gender, a neurobiological aspect, a hormonal aspect of gender, behavioral aspect. There's all kinds of nuances that a purely sex-based definition just doesn't capture. That's the problem.
Okay, but just because someone goes through gender dysphoria doesn't mean that they are actually physically the gender that they feel they are. I feel like it's like a mental thing. Like, not saying that they're mental, but I feel like it's something that's inside their head, and that's okay. I understand people go through that, but it doesn't make it reality.
So, first of all, everybody has a sense of gender in their brains. Everybody has a sense of, I'm a man or woman or whatever. Everybody has a gender identity. And so gender dysphoria is simply the incongruence between their expression and their actual identity. That's the incongruence. And so it's not, I don't know what your point is though.
My point is, if that is the definition of woman that has always been used like everywhere, then I don't understand, like, just because you want to change it doesn't mean that it's been changed.
We don't
Like, it
want
hasn't been
it.
changed.
The reason why the definition is updating is because we're learning more about gender. We're discovering a huge swath of information about gender and people and their psychology, or realizing, oh my God, people are trans. Wow, there is something real happening here. Wow, people do experience gender dysphoria. It's real. And look, we give them gender affirming care, it helps them. We're realizing, wow, there's a lot to this that we didn't know before. Okay? So yeah, maybe for the longest time, people referred to women as just somebody who has a vagina. But there's clearly more to women than just their genitals or their sex.
Okay.
There's clearly more. There's clearly more to me as a man than just my penis. There's a whole masculinity I exhibit. There's a whole psychology around my gender in which I want to fulfill manly roles. I want to fulfill manly expectations. I want to be called sir, not madam. There's a whole identity I have with respect to my manhood that my sex just is irrelevant to.
Okay, I understand your point of view. I guess I just personally think that your identity, like how you identify yourself, is completely different than the actual physical and reality. So I guess there's two different definitions you could go by. I just go by the one that I said.
Nobody's denying the physical, biological reality of sex.
Okay.
I account for that. Yeah, there's two sexes, female, male. However, gender is different. It goes a step over, a step beyond sex. It describes the sociological aspects. Okay?
I understand. Thank you.
And when we say identity, we're not talking about, oh, I just label myself a woman. That's not what we mean. Identity is a deep internal sense of who you are. Everybody has an identity. Everybody listening into this has an understanding unconsciously that they want to be called sir, ma'am, or he or she, or they or them. Everybody has a sense of that in their brains. That's gender identity. That's one aspect of it. Everybody wakes up in the morning and has this unconscious sense that they should be wearing a particular kind of clothing. Manly clothing, woman clothing, maybe in between. Maybe they don't fit in the binary. That's gender identity. So, that's the point. That's why trans women are women, because they have that identity of woman. It's that simple. I was born male, that's it. Guys, I understand. You're looking around and going, oh my God, this is confusing. This is too much information. It's just male and female, that's it. You have a pee-pee, you're a man. If you don't, you're a woman. Your brain wants to do that. You like the binary thinking. You love it. It's either this or that, one or two, yes or no. It's easy, it's enticing, but it's not reality. The reality of this is that there's way more nuance. It's a wild spectrum. Gender is a spectrum. So is even sex. Not even binary. Nothing's really binary when it comes to the human body. The human body is very complex, especially the mind. And so you're looking for binaries where they just don't exist. And that's why it's a male and female. They're all this trans stuff that's all new. They're making up this damn radical left liberals are woke. They're making all this gender shit up. I understand that sentiment. But just like climate change, right? A lot of conservatives go, oh, no, climate change ain't real. Yesterday it was 50, now it's 60. Well, it's a bit more complicated. The climate is a bit more complicated than just weather. This is directly analogous to this conversation, right? Gender is more complicated than just sex. Climate change is way more complicated than just weather. And so if your brain cannot grasp the nuance, if you're not willing to learn, They're just going to be stuck in that bigoted mindset, you know, of, oh, these stupid liberals, they're destroying our country with this woke propaganda. You know? Learn. Learn. If you're confused, that's okay. Learn. Learn information. Learn. Learn about gender theory. Learn about science. Learn about neuroscience on gender. It's all out there. And so, that's all. I hope you guys learned something. But I gotta go. I'm tired. I love how cis women are fighting this battle the hardest. No, that's a good point. A lot of cis women who don't understand gender themselves, they hear this and they go, they're reducing, they're taking away from us women. They're making it, because in their minds they perceive themselves as, well, this is how it's always been, right? Women defined by my ability to give birth and my ability to have a vagina and all these things, these female things. So now that's being challenged and they're scared. Like, oh my God, am I being demoted? They're taking away from us women, right? So now they feel it's like a fight for them. They feel like, oh yeah, adult human female, get out of our spaces, right? That's what's happening here. They feel threatened by the new data, you know? It's very normal human behavior to get scared, to feel threatened by somebody challenging you on your very deeply held belief. Same kind of thing like religious people experience, right? When an atheist suddenly says there is no God, the theist gets defensive. No, there is a God. He loves you. I'll pray for you, right? It's the same behavior. It's the same exact behavior. And the way we fight this long term is education. The way we fight this is we continue talking about gender, we continue educating people on gender, we keep challenging people on gender. That's how we win this. That's how it's always happened in the past, right? Back in the 1950s, the mainstream idea was that gay people were demonic or mentally ill. That was the widely held belief in the 1950s and 60s. In fact, some of the formal psychiatric documents stated that gay people had a mental illness. But what happened? 70s and the 80s, we started learning more about gender. We started learning more about sexuality, and we discovered, oh, wait a minute. These people are real. There's no illness. Now, most people who are TERFs accept the LGBT, the gay community. See how the paradigm is shifting gradually with the advent of education. This is how it's working with gender right now, right? Because for the longest time, we never questioned gender. We just said, yeah, woman this, men that. We didn't really question, we didn't really investigate it on a mainstream basis. People just kind of thought, yeah, woman is this, man is this. We never questioned it. But now suddenly we're starting to talk more together, we're starting to challenge each other more, and we're realizing, yeah, there's more to this. And that's why the conservatives are getting they're going on the defensive, you know. So yeah, that's all, guys. Yeah, when you say, oh, biological woman, biological man, that doesn't make any sense. Everybody's biological. So what you really mean, to be more precise, is you mean female or male sex. So again, you're being very imprecise when you talk about things like, oh, biological man, biological woman. It's just pumped full of rhetoric and dogmatic ideas that don't make any sense. Can medicine change one's identity? So, yeah, so hormones can definitely influence neuroplasticity, right? Your identity can definitely, there's variations in your identity over time with taking hormones, but your core identity is not going to change, right? Because there's only so much neuroplasticity that can happen. So it's like, yeah, certain things, stimulants can affect your sense of awareness or sense of self, but your core sense of who you are remains the same throughout your life. That's how it happens. That's essentially how it works, Remember when you got humiliated by Jay Dyer? Yeah, what was the argument that humiliated me? See, this is another example of the people on the defense. Ugh, I gotta say something mean and insulting so that I feel like I beat this guy. I get rid of these cockroaches, right? It's all coming from that that mindset of, oh, I gotta destroy these guys. You prove that you knew nothing about metaphysics. What are you talking about? The same person that thinks that that God must exist because of transcendentals, which we don't have to grant. That tells me that Jay Dyer doesn't know how metaphysics works. If he thinks that God is necessary for transcendentals, it's a joke. Nobody takes precept seriously. Nobody takes precept apologetics seriously. No philosophers take it seriously. Not even Christian philosophers take it seriously. It's a joke, guys. It's a fucking joke. You tripped up and thought that human minds weren't finite. What do you mean by finite or infinite human mind? Do you mean the number of thoughts? Do you mean the types of thoughts? What do you mean? Do you mean the mind can be applied to an infinite amount of things? That's true. What do you mean? I'm so tired of people debating about us. So, I understand that. You might feel like, oh, we should stop talking about this. Leave us alone. But again, if we don't talk about this, who will? If we don't talk about this, what happens is that silence allows for bigotry to grow. It allows for hatred to grow and foster. Every time we're silent about something and we don't challenge the other side, who are active, what happens is the bigotry, the hatred grows. And so, no, we definitely need to be talking about this way more. More people need to be talking about gender more. That's what we need. It doesn't affect you personally, right? Yeah, it might make you feel uncomfortable. We should definitely be talking about this, even though it makes you feel uncomfortable to talk about. I mean, the other side, why can't they just leave us alone? That's another bad question. Well, why can't they just leave us alone? You have to kind of expect that people are going to exist like that, right? Guys, you have to expect that people out there are going to counter what you have to say and be active in fighting what you have to, and challenging what you have to say. You have to expect that. In fact, you should be prepared for that. It shouldn't make you feel bad that people out there disagree with you. You should be like, oh, good, let me talk to them, right? they have their own reasons for saying what they say. They're bad reasons, but they have their reasons. And so you can't dismiss that and say, oh, no, they leave us alone. It's never going to happen. They're never going to leave you alone. They're going to still be here. The way we solve this is by continuing talking about it, learning about the topic properly conveying the topic. That's how we win. It's simple. It's a simple formula. You know? So, all right, guys. Have a good night. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have been inspired to take your own time and learn